Okay, everybody, happy Monday to you. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Rodney Harris. Hope you're off to a good start to your Monday. My goodness, what a weekend we had here across North Georgia and in Atlanta. Normally, we can say it snowed in the mountains. In Atlanta, we just had to watch, but we got it here, didn't we? So everybody's kind of back on their routine. I want to get you an update on some snow days first that we saw and talk more about that because that's been a really big question that I've been getting here over the past several days is how rare is this that we see snow in Atlanta? And then from there, I want to talk about the modeling because we're already looking at the next opportunity for precipitation. We actually have a first alert weather day in your forecast, and we're already starting to see some of these maps pop up on social media again. So I'll sort of break down what we're expecting and how that correlates to social media. So we'll start with the snow days because again, that's a pretty big question that I've been getting. And to kind of start this off, just so you know, we picked up 2.1 inches of snow in Atlanta officially on Friday. 2.1 inches. It's the most snow that we have seen in Atlanta in 7 years. Okay, so that's the official number, and we've been showing you these maps to kind of give you the estimated totals across the region, but officially for the city of Atlanta, 2.1 inches on Friday. So in terms of snow days, and this is relating to the questions that I've been getting over the weekend, how rare is it for us to see snow in the city of Atlanta? So what you see here, this is some research that I did over the past 10 years. And as you can see there, it shows you the number of snow days over the past 10 years. First, we're going to look at just measurable snow, and that is just any time it officially snowed in Atlanta. Forget about the amounts, just any official snow. And over the last 10 years, it's only happened 10 times. So for those of you who are good at math, that's one per year. One snow day per year over the past 10 years. So it's not often. I mean, we get rain like once a week, and once a year is how often we see a snow day. So taking it a little bit deeper, we'll look at just an inch of snow. I'm going to bring the bar up here a little bit. I think I am, if I can make this work. So 1 inch of snow here across North Georgia, and that's not going to work on the screen. But I'll tell you, I believe that's been 3 snow days over the past 10 years, so not nearly as much when you look at an inch for the total. And then taking it even further to 2 inches, even less. So I'm showing you this map, and this is an interactive map that I'm showing you. So there we go. Now I got that 1 inch to pop up. So when you look at just 1 inch totals, that means 1 inch of snow in Atlanta. We've seen that happen 3 times over the last 10 years, including Friday. So that gives you even more perspective of how rare this is. Now we'll bump it up to 2 inches, and that's only happened 2 times over the past 10 years in Atlanta, where we have seen 2 inches of snow, and that also included Friday. So as you will see, the higher these numbers go up, the higher the totals go up, the more rare it is. 3 inches, that hasn't happened at all over the past 10 years. We have not had 3 inches of snow in Atlanta in the past 10 years. The last time that happened was in 2011. And then when you bump that up to 4 inches, also haven't seen 4 inches over the past 10 years. The last time that happened was 2009. So the bottom line here is that the snow days themselves are very rare in Atlanta. And we just look at measurable snow, any snow amount whatsoever. Over the past 10 years, we've averaged about 1 a year. So that means that what we saw on Friday was pretty rare. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I want to move forward and talk about our forecast map going into this upcoming weekend because this is the next event that we are tracking for you here in North Georgia. Saturday is a first alert weather day. On this model, as you can see, this is just rain that we're forecasting here for North Georgia, just rain. So I do want to point out that if you have plans over the weekend, definitely circle Saturday, have a backup plan. It's too early to know the exact timing and the exact amounts, but we're confident enough to tell you that it's going to rain on Saturday. So if you have to pick a day this weekend to get outdoors, Sunday will be the better day. So that's that first alert. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because on the back edge of this system, as it's moving out, there will be cold air in place, and you can see that that white and blue by Sunday. We are seeing the potential of wraparound moisture that could perhaps produce some flurries in the mountains. At this particular model, it's not really showing that much. It's showing rain on Saturday, followed by some wraparound moisture that's really impacting like Tennessee and the Carolinas, and that may be getting as far south as the mountains again at some point this weekend. Wraparound moisture that could produce a few flurries, not nearly what we saw on Friday, and then everything just moves out going into next week. Now, I want to back this up And I do want to say that some of our models are showing that snow moving a little bit further south and showing it on a different day. So I want to talk about the models here. This model that we show you, and this is kind of our process really every day. As a team, all of our meteorologists here at Atlanta News First, we get together and we decide which model do we want to show you that best represents what we think will happen in the long term. It's very difficult to know exactly what's going to happen this far out, but we determine that as a team. So this is the model that we chose for today. This is actually a version of our European model. But behind the scenes, I'll have you know that there are 50 other versions of just this model. All right, and we're just talking about the European model. I haven't even talked about the GFS yet. Just the European model. There are 50 other versions of this. Some of them show snow, some of them do not. And then when you switch over to the GFS, there are multiple versions of that. So every day when we come to work, we are looking at dozens of different versions of these models to be able to put your forecast together. And what you're seeing on social media is oftentimes people sort of taking the worst case to grab your attention. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that it won't, but we have to determine as a team here what model best represents what we think is going to happen. And this far out, when you're talking about an event, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, it's just way too early to be able to truly determine what's going to happen. Now, I can tell you that here on Atlanta News First Plus, on television, we just have to pick a model because there's so little time. We just have to get you the message and say, hey, it's going to rain on Saturday. But when we can break it down with more time on Atlanta News First Plus, we can kind of break down each model and go into more detail. So this is one model. This is what you saw on television this morning. This is likely what you'll see on television this afternoon. But again, we look at 50 other versions of just this model. So this European model, there's 51 total, and that's just the European. We haven't even looked at the GFS yet. So what ends up happening here is the further apart these models are, the lower our confidence. The closer the models are together, the higher our confidence. So if, for example, when you're looking at this European model right here, if all 51 versions of this model pretty much show the same thing for the weekend, then that means that our confidence is very high, and we'll start to show you that on television. But behind the scenes, when we're looking at this data, if 51 models are showing us 51 different things, then our confidence is lower, and so we'll be very careful about how we're forecasting that for you. So that's sort of our process and what we do on Atlanta News First to make it the most accurate forecast in Atlanta. We take that very serious. So that's why at this point we're not really saying that it's going to snow in a week. We're saying that we're going to see rain on Saturday, and then at this point at least there's the potential for some wraparound moisture that could produce some flurries in the mountains. And who knows, that could change as we get closer in time, but the confidence is way too low on exactly what would happen. So when you see those maps on social media, remember that there are dozens of different versions of that map. And that's why you tune into your meteorologist, because we do the work to actually determine what's really likely this far out. And just by definition, the models get less and less accurate as you go further out. That's just by definition, regardless of which model you're looking at. So it's already very difficult to forecast that in the first place. But we're doing a lot behind the scenes. There's 6 of us right now here at Atlanta News First, meteorologist-wise. And so we're all kind of putting our heads together to determine which model we feel is best. So that's sort of a behind the scenes on how we present this information to you. And again, on television, we're just showing you one map because it's television and we have to simplify it for you. But just know that behind the scenes, just this one model that I showed this morning and Ella did as well, there are 50 other versions of that. And so we're doing the work behind the scenes to determine what best represents what we want to show. So keep that in mind when you're looking out on social media. And that's why it's important that you, when you're getting your forecast, you're getting it from us here at Atlanta News First or whomever you trust, because we're really doing the work to present what we feel like is the most accurate. And that's how we did the last event, which we were pretty confident on. So we'll let you know. But as of now, again, we're looking at rain, and I'll kind of back this up for you a little bit. We're looking at rain on Saturday. That's a first alert for sure. And then as this system passes us by, there's going to be some wraparound moisture, and it does look like there may be the potential for some flurries, at least in the mountains. But even with these models now, and I actually mentioned this on television earlier this morning, the days are off. So like this model that I'm showing you, which is the European, that's showing rain on Saturday, which is what we have in your forecast. But then after Saturday, the European and the GFS, the American model, they sort of differ a little bit. So we're not even 100% sure on the timing of the wraparound moisture, but what we do know for sure is that it's going to rain on Saturday, which is why we decided to go ahead and first alert that. And then as more model data come in, we'll be able to kind of fine-tune the details around that. But that's just sort of an idea of what we have in that 7-day forecast. And I wanted to break down the difference in what you see on television, what you see from us, and what you see on social media, and how some of those maps, why some of those maps can oftentimes be wrong. Because there's so many different versions of them. But we really are doing the work behind the scenes to try to present you the best possible information. And we'll do that for this event as well. So as of now, prepare for rain on Saturday and continue to watch. Continue to join us here on Atlanta News First Plus. Make sure you download the First Alert Weather app because we continue to fine-tune the details as we get closer and closer to the event. I will say, I'll qualify all this by saying we're definitely in a pattern, right, for winter weather. It's cold. What's going to happen with this particular system, though, is we're actually going to warm up before this system moves in. So it's super cold right now. We have a cold front that moved through today, so it'll get even colder tomorrow, 20s in the morning, 40s in the afternoon. But oftentimes before these systems move in, I'm going to back this up for you and take you back to Saturday morning. Oftentimes before these systems move in, we get what we call a southwest flow. And that is essentially the wind coming from the south, and that warms us up. So Friday and Saturday, our temperatures are going to be pushing 60 degrees. Okay, so even though it's cold now, before this next system moves in, it'll warm up quite a bit. So that's why Saturday's precipitation will be all rain, because it's going to warm up here pretty good. And 60 this time of year is warm. Our normal high this time of year is 54, so we won't get right up to 60 in Atlanta, but it'll get pretty close to the upper 50s. So we'll sort of warm up before this rain moves in. It'll just be rain, but then on the back side of this system, it'll cool off again. And as that cooler air is moving in, it'll kind of combine with whatever moisture is left in place. And right now, our confidence is sort of moderate on some potential flurries in the mountains. I can't even tell you the day, but at some point this weekend, you might see some flurries in the mountains. But beyond that, that's it, right? At this point, it looks like it'll just kind of dry out for everybody. But we'll keep you up to date. Stay tuned. Otherwise, the rest of this day is looking really good. Mostly sunny skies later on this afternoon. It started kind of yucky with cloudy skies, some showers out there. But it'll be mostly sunny today with highs in the low 50s. So hope you enjoy that. Still some slick spots out there. So anytime we get these temperatures above freezing, that's good, because that gives an opportunity for the snow to melt. Something else that's sort of interesting, because this was a question too earlier today. Why are we warming up above freezing, but the snow is still on the ground? So snow, it behaves differently from like asphalt and grass. Whenever the sun shines, as you know, asphalt really absorbs that sun and it warms up. Snow doesn't really absorb the sun well. The sun actually reflects off of the snow, so the snow doesn't really warm up. So that's why temperatures were above freezing yesterday afternoon. They're already above freezing now, but you're still seeing that snow, because that snow doesn't really take that heat in as well as the ground does, or as the grass, and so it just takes a lot longer to warm it up. And that's why you're still seeing those snow patches here and there across North Georgia. And that'll continue to be the case, especially with refreezing at night. So be careful with that. It's not a huge danger out there, but on some of those smaller roads and smaller streets, we are still seeing a little bit of snow. And some of that will refreeze again tonight with temperatures dropping back into the 20s. So watch out for that. Otherwise, we'll see a lot of sunshine later on this afternoon. So we hope that you make it a great Monday. We will have our next update for you with First Alert Meteorologist Courtney Jacobazi. That's on Atlanta News First at noon. And, of course, you can always get your forecast in the First Alert Weather app. Until next time, we'll see you soon.